Welcome to the Glory Sports Podcast Network, where you'll have a front row seat to the conversation shaping sports and culture right now. Brought to you by the editors at Glory Media, plus a few of our friends. Here, you'll find everything from exclusive athlete interviews and co-host analyses to behind-the-scenes stories and hot takes. For those that love the game, you've come to the right place. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the DeRo and the Diehard podcast. I am your host, Ben Botelho, and with me today is nobody. It's a snow day, so DeRo stayed home. We all stayed home. I think pretty much everybody is in the same boat. Kind of feels like a school day, except back in grade school when this happened, you'd wake up, look out your window, you see a foot of snow on the ground, snow falling relentlessly, and your mom would come into the room and you say, "Hey, buddy, snow day today, no school." And you'd go, "Perfect. Call up the boys for some snow football. Going to be a great day." Now it's sort of, you just work. You got to earn your money somehow, right? But similarly to the weather, European managers have been treated very coldly by their clubs. I guess by their ex-clubs. Last week we talked about Ruben Amorim at length, right? That whole debacle of getting sacked by Manchester United after the explosive press conference. And less than a week later, this past Monday, Real Madrid came out and released their statement that they are sacking, or as they put it, they're parting ways mutually with Xabi Alonso. And between these two situations, people look at it face value and they say, manager got sacked. Not much you can say about that. Loss against Barcelona. I will say, as far as Manchester United go, the sacking of a manager is fairly standard. But this Real Madrid situation is much more complex. It's far more layered, and we have to get into the full story to understand each and every element that led to this. Quite frankly, it's a monumental moment in the current age of football, especially with Real Madrid, the biggest team in the world with some of the biggest players in the world. And Monday, they lose their manager. The day before that, they lose against Barcelona. And yesterday, they lose to a second division team that's currently placed 17th in the Copa del Rey. There are many, many sources reporting about the relationship that Xabi had with the players, the relationship that Florentino had with Xabi. There are many elements to go into, but the best place to begin is right from the beginning in a beautifully written article by Mario Cortegna and Guillermo Rai of The Athletic, and all of their sources that encompass this article and all the things we're hearing about this team. So as we all know, on Monday night, Xabi Alonso was sacked by Real Madrid, and this came after their late loss to Barcelona in the Supercopa in the final in Saudi Arabia. The first thing is, it's important to get out of the way. The sacking was clearly not related to the match. They win, they lose. It feels like Xabi Alonso had his foot out the door. We can discuss results, but, his results up until the point he was sacked with Real Madrid, his first, 34-odd games, he had the same record as the current Barcelona manager, Hansi Flick. The only difference is the Barcelona hierarchy and Joan Laporta and DeRo, they believed in him. They trusted the process that he was bringing forth to the team, and it panned out. Florentino Perez did not. So we all know about the authority problems that Xabi Alonso was having over the course of his tenure at Real Madrid. And it extends beyond that. The new and sort of modern methods, him and his coaching staff brought in, they were not welcomed by some of Real Madrid's senior players. And you got to think about, I wonder what these methods were. Xabi Alonso had came off of what was an unprecedented season with Bayer Leverkusen, achieving immense success with a smaller club. He wanted more pressing. He wanted more tactical work and more discipline from the very first days to when he took the Real Madrid job. And the club also wanted this sort of approach. You got to think about, since I would say 2013 and Carlo Ancelotti was there, Real Madrid have had a manager of men, not necessarily a tactician. They had Ancelotti, they had Zinedine Zidane, and these are guys that, of course, they bring to the table their vast footballing knowledge and experience, and they know how to work out a win and work out a loss and create structure, whether that's offensively, defensively, or in the midfield. But what they were known for was managing egos and personalities and doing sort of the intangible work rather than the tangible stuff like tactics. And this is what Real Madrid were trying to progress to. And inevitably, when you have so many big personalities on a team like Real Madrid, and this is sort of an unprecedented era that we haven't seen in a while. I mean, we can look back to the late 2010s where they went three-peat, and there's a lot of big personalities on that team, but they weren't as explosive, as vocal, as extroverted as they are now with Jude Bellingham, with Vinicius Jr., and of course with Kylian Mbappe. Now, according to the Athletic article, the tensions grew, reaching a high point in late October, sort of early November, and this was a stretch where the team had won 13 out of their first 14 matches of the season, including that victory at Barca at the Bernabeu that put them 5 points clear at the top of La Liga. Now, they're at no point, DeRo and I had talked about this El Clasico, and we talked about the fight that happened. Obviously, Vinicius Jr. getting subbed off and throwing a fit was a very big topic of discussion. But there was never a point where him and I looked at each other and were like, yeah, Xabi Alonso's job is on the line. Madrid lost 4 times to Barca in the last term. So the 2-1 victory at home, this is a big moment for them. This is back, and it was a good moment for the team, but it wasn't as they described it in the article. All that glitters is not gold. Because in that game, when Vinicius Jr. was substituted, we all know how he reacted. The DAZN broadcast actually captured him saying, "Always me. I'm leaving the team. It's better if I leave. I'm leaving." It was a very dramatic moment. And the truth, and the thing is that what this showed a lot of people is that, we all could assume that there's attitude problems on that Real Madrid team. I mean, it's covered in superstars and competing personalities and egos. And we're all waiting. We're waiting for the moment for this ship to sink. And this was the Titanic hitting the iceberg, the first signs of a leakage. In the ensuing days that followed Vinny's El Clasico tantrum, we know that he met with Florentino Perez. This is all documented. He apologized for behavior. And what he also did was that he insinuated that he felt extending his contract was not in the best interest of himself or Real Madrid while this relationship with Xabi Alonso had so much strain on it. And since that moment, the talks on his renewal in June of 2027, they have not progressed. That same day, Vinicius also went to the Madrid training ground. He apologized to his teammates, and Xabi Alonso and the coaching staff were present. You also got to think, what are the players thinking? Because when Vinicius did this, I mean, these are all reports, it came as a surprise to various figures at Real Madrid. And he did not mention Xabi Alonso by name either in his message on social media where he apologized to the public or the fans per se. Now, sources close to Vinny Jr. confirmed that leaving Alonso out of his apology message on social media was a deliberate move. Now, we'll fast forward to a few days ago when Alonso got sacked. Many players on the Real Madrid team posted messages of solidarity on their social media accounts. Now, it is currently Thursday, January 15. As of now, Vinicius has not done so. Now, we'll circle back to this incident. We all know publicly, again, that Vinny was not fined for what happened on El Clasico. And according to multiple sources close to the team, it was at this precise moment where Xabi began to lose the dressing room. Now we shift over to the next week where Real Madrid beat Valencia 4-0 at home. And it was their 13th victory in 14 games in all competitions. Remember, this team was rolling, and they looked a real threat. It finally looked like they made what a crazy transition going from Ancelotti, the man guy, the intangible guy, to Xabi Alonso, who's a little bit more both, but definitely more on the tactical side. And it seemed to be going seamlessly. Now remember, at this point, by the end of that weekend, they were 5 points clear of Barcelona, right at the top of the La Liga table. Over the next 7 matches, Alonso's side only won twice. They were beaten by Liverpool in the Champions League and Celta Vigo in La Liga. They also drew at Rayo Vallecano, Elche, and Girona. And their only victories came from Olympiacos in the Champions League, where Mbappe scored 4 goals, and Athletic Club. Now, again, these matches, these victories, they are victories. They do accrue points, but it was a very negative win. The vibe around Real Madrid at the time was, again, not very good at all. Now, around this rough stretch, it was reported that there were moves made by Alonso to try and bring this group closer together, make them more galvanized. This involved Xabi making some concessions, including a reduction in the amount of video analysis the team was asked to follow. You don't have to do this because I want to be better friends with you. I want you to like me a little bit more. I want us to get along more, so I'm going to take away some of your responsibility. I'm going to make you do less work, and hopefully you'll like me more. I'll stray from the story for a second. That's ridiculous. I mean, we're adults. We're professionals. There are hundreds of millions of dollars at stake here, a lot of which I'm paying you. And in order for me to get on your good side, I have to make you do less work. What, you just want to coast through professional? You're a professional football player. It's if your job description says video analysis, if I have to watch football for a living, you're living out 99% of the world's dreams, watching something they love for a living. And they go, no, it's okay. You don't have to do that. Instead, you can go home and play FIFA and do whatever the hell you want to do because I know it makes you happier, and I'm just trying to cater to your needs and wants. I digress. In the eyes of Real Madrid's leadership, this move by Xabi Alonso was very worrying. And this is the one time I'm going to side with Real Madrid in this story because, of course, everything we just mentioned, you're projecting a level of no level of authority at that point. You're showing me that you have no control over the squad. You're showing me that you're bending to their wishes. And for as much of a man manager Carlo Ancelotti was, he never did this. Continuing on, the board held discussions about Xabi Alonso's future, and of course, Alvaro Arbeloa emerged as the leading potential replacement, who, as we all know, is now managing Los Blancos. Funnily enough, another name that was mentioned during this very press conference or meeting was Zinedine Zidane. So the very thing they're trying to get away from, they want to go back to. So it's all very, very confusing. Everybody in the football world knows that Zinedine Zidane is up for the French job. He wants that job after Didier Deschamps departs it. So this was, sort of just throwing names in a hat and picking a random one and then vocalizing it. Now we get to December, and Alonso's team is struggling, and he is struggling to get the team to play how he wanted them to play, and that conflict had reached a head. We reported this actually a while ago on the podcast, on the show, and we were saying that there was a source at Real Madrid that actually said he felt sympathy for Xabi Alonso because of how the team were treating him and regarding his relationship with the players. And this source is quoted by saying the problem is not Xabi. Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., and Bellingham are incompatible. You can't have balance in a team with those three playing. This is something I feel, DeRo and I have this discussion at length again. We talk about playing too many superstars, and on one hand, you look at that lineup and you're like, I'm going to score 10, 15 goals a game. And on the other hand, this is what you get. Nothing. You get poor results after poor results. You get egos controlling every little move at the club, and obviously now we're here. So we'll skip ahead to the day of the sacking, and a source close to Alonso, he pointed out the extreme difficulty of coaching players with such big egos. A second source also said that Madrid did not have a team interested in training. Now, I get it when you're hearing me talk about this and I'm referring to sources. This is all from that Athletic article, and you can have your skepticism, but let's recall something that I said a few moments ago. Xabi said, "Hey guys, no more video training, no more video work. You're good." And then we hear that this is a team not interested in training. The dots are starting to connect, and it's making far too much sense. We move on to December 14th against Alaves, in what was at the time a must-win game. For the first time, Alonso picked Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham, and Rodrigo as starters. And for me, this was a sign of, okay, now you're completely abandoning a system that you've been trying to impose on these players, and you're probably attempting to please the senior club figures who have been begging for such a move. They want the Galacticos area back. They want to have every big money move, every star player on the field, even though it doesn't work. And now we get to this week. On Sunday night, Barcelona beat Real Madrid thanks to a late Rafinha goal in the Supercopa. The 44-year-old Xabi Alonso, fresh to managerial career, has a big accomplishment under him with Leverkusen, was not expecting to be sacked. As a team like Real Madrid would never make such a rash decision so quickly over such a small thing, even though losing to Barcelona is at the very top of their priority list to not happen. But he was not expecting this. Now, Real Madrid were not due to train until the following day. So with this little space, Xabi Alonso and his coaching staff were analyzing the Barca defeat, doing video work. How ironic. And then suddenly, it went all up in smoke. Xabi was told to come to the training ground, and it was there that the sporting director of Real Madrid, Jose Angel Sanchez, informed him that he would be removed from his position. Alonso told him that in no uncertain terms he thought the decision was wrong or unfair, and he blamed his dismissal on the much-discussed culture of the Galactico power at Real Madrid. Now, for many outside observers of this case, the club's decision-making is very confusing. You bring in an elite and highly respected manager and his team, you ask them to make major changes, and then you sack him and the whole staff just 8 months later. On Tuesday morning, a source close to Xabi Alonso said the situation didn't turn out as we would have liked, because this is Madrid and Florentino is Florentino. And now, folks, we arrive at Thursday, January 15th, the date of recording, and yesterday, Real Madrid were defeated in the Copa del Rey by second-tier, 17th placed in that league, Albacete, in Alvaro Arbeloa's first match as the Los Blancos manager. I mean, this is box office, right? We've always regarded Real Madrid as a very dramatic club, very mysterious club, almost like a mafia sort of thing, of course, with Florentino Perez right at the very helm. But this is the story, and for me, it brings on a broader point. The Galacticos worked back then, right? With Figo, Roberto Carlos, David Beckham, Ronaldo Nazario. It worked back then with those guys because life was football and football was life. And those guys recognized that we're a team. Nobody's bigger than the team. Nobody's bigger than the manager. This is my boss. I listen to my boss. 15 years later, when Real Madrid have Gareth Bale, Karim Benzema, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo, Luka Modric, Toni Kroos, Sergio Ramos, Pepe, Varane, Marcelo, nothing happens. Do you know why? Because like I said before, football is life. Life is football. But more importantly, winning is everything. That was the aura I got off of that team. And who are they? Are they not going to listen to Zinedine Zidane? Are they not going to listen to Carlo Ancelotti? I mean, this was an era of football where players actually respected their managers and respected them irregardless of what they'd won, irregardless of what they'd done. Because this is the manager, this is the hierarchy of the club, this is Real Madrid, they demand success, and if we're going to achieve this success, we have to do it the proper way. Now, about 8 years after that, Real Madrid once again try another Galactico era with Vinicius Jr., and Kylian Mbappe, and Jude Bellingham. And were you expecting to get the same results as the Real Madrid at the 3P Real Madrid? Were you expecting to get the same results as the original Galacticos? Well, that's on you then. That's 100% on you. Because I can take one look at these guys. I can watch one game of Real Madrid. And what do I see when I look on the field? Jude Bellingham yelling and screaming and whining. Vinicius Jr. getting subbed off when Real Madrid are already winning. When they don't need him. When he's done nothing on the field. And he's crying, throwing a fit. I want to leave. I want to go. I don't belong here. Kylian Mbappe. Let's not forget, he's not innocent in all this. Because a video came out and emerged. I'm sure you've seen it. At the Supercopa, Xabi Alonso is about 30 feet away from him, instructing his players to give them the guard of honor because they won, because they're classy, and Kylian Mbappe waves him over. We don't want to do that. Screw that. What do we need to do that for? Doesn't matter what you think, Kylian. Xabi Alonso's talking. The biggest thing for me with these players is, who are you to disrespect Xabi Alonso? What do you got in your resume, Kylian? What do you have? Got a World Cup? Congratulations. Xabi Alonso's got one. He's got 2 Euros, 2 Champions Leagues. One of the best midfielders of a generation. You think that you have a better footballing mind than him? You think that you have a better idea on how to run the team, run Real Madrid than he does? You don't even know where to run away on the field. You and Vinny getting mixed up all the time. Why do you think you lost? It's stuff like this that makes this new era of football particularly insufferable. Because, and don't get me wrong, not everybody's like this. Not every young player is out there to be egotistical and want everything to run through them and be the main person. Like, no chance. Most players are quiet, committed, hardworking. They just want to play. They just want to play football. But somehow, some way, Real Madrid have managed to pick up the few superstars in the game that are completely insufferable, that are complete divas, that only care about their ego, that only care about themselves. They don't care about anything else. And the fact that a couple of whining under 25-year-olds ran a historic legend of the game, legend of Real Madrid, out of his own club, it truly shows me that Florentino Perez has completely lost the plot. We'll get into this a little bit too, actually, because their quote was, Real Madrid's quote, they initially branded this whole ordeal as a mutual parting of the ways. That's not what happened. You think we're not going to find out that you sacked him? It's all here. And I'm sure it's on hundreds of other articles. You're the biggest club in the world, debatably the biggest sporting brand in the world. You think we're not going to find out that you sacked him? And they also said that he was the easiest person to get rid of. Isn't that crazy? I remember a time where Sir Alex Ferguson and Roy Keane had a beef. Roy Keane, the captain of Manchester United, really embodies who Man U are. He is Manchester United, and Manchester United is Roy Keane. And they were butting heads. Roy had a public quote against the team. Do you know what Sir Alex Ferguson did? He said, "Get the hell out of here." How about that for a tough move? And this was back in the day when managers were able to run their clubs. They were able to be the main guy. They were able to make decisions without board members hovering over their shoulders and influencing them. Gone are those days, because instead of keeping who in the summer was the most coveted manager in the world, we're going to keep our guys who are quite clearly the problem. Real Madrid have recovered from losing Ronaldo, from losing Modric, from losing Toni Kroos, from losing El Fenomeno, from losing Figo, from losing Beckham, from losing Casillas, from losing Ramos, from losing Marcelo. They have recovered from everything. Every player that comes and goes, Real Madrid will be fine. And for the first time in a very long time in their history, first time for me actually in general, they've chosen the player. And who is their player exactly? Who is the player they're choosing? Is it Vinny? A lot of wingers in Europe. A lot of skillful wingers in Europe that don't give you half the attitude that he does. Is it Mbappe? He's a little more irreplaceable, sure. But you're moving like Real Madrid can't go into the next summer market and be like, I want Haaland, we're going to get Haaland, now we have Haaland. Fabrizio Romano just announced it. Is it Bellingham? Is he all of a sudden the only center attacking midfield in the world that's good? I know one in Man United, Portuguese guy. He wants out of the club. He'll be a great fit. It's the modern era of sports, and DeRo and I have discussed this, where players they think their shit doesn't stink. They walk around like they're the guy. It's all about me. And, not to any fault of theirs, social media has made it like this. And I feel bad. I really, really do. It sucks. You're a victim of yourself, essentially. But that doesn't give you license in the most televised game in the world up until the World Cup final for you to cry and cause such a huge scene on the way out of El Clasico off the pitch. And I'll give you this example of modern players. If you're listening to this, you probably don't watch hockey, and that's fair. But in the NHL, there are 3 American superstar brothers that all play in the show. It's Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes, and Luke Hughes. Now, Jack and Luke, they play for the New Jersey Devils. Same team. Wonderful to play with my brother. Quinn Hughes just was involved in a blockbuster trade from our Canadian Vancouver Canucks to the Minnesota Wild. And of course, he's been performing. He's probably the best player of the brothers. Now, Vancouver, when they had Quinn Hughes, what they were trying to do, they wanted to keep him there. They wanted to make him happy because obviously he's got this inner desire, and not even inner, an outspoken desire, he said, to go and play with his brothers in New Jersey. And I get that. Good for you. If I had brothers playing in leagues and I was in there, I would want to do the same. I think that'd be great. Be like backyard football over again. Be fantastic. But what these guys didn't realize, and they still don't, is this is the real world. I don't care if you want to play with your brother. I'm the GM. I'm the coach. You're under contract, and you're going to shut up about it and play hockey. Why is this the be-all, end-all? Why are we folding to players' needs and wants? Because the second we do, they will not stop. By no means am I shaming the PA, and I'm saying take away the player representation and give them no power. We've been through that era of sports, and it was just as bad, if not worse. Now, they can do anything. And that shouldn't be the way it is. I support my team because I have trust in my team. Of course, I like the manager or the coach. Of course, I like the GM. At the same token, if they're doing a horrible job, I want them out. Do you really believe that you're safe from any criticism from fans or safe from any wrongdoing or blame? No. So to relate that to soccer and to football in the football world, this is a perfect analogy. There's 2 problems at Real Madrid, and one of them is Vinicius, and one of them is Bellingham, and there's a third one coming, and I can't tell if it's Mbappe just yet. I'm done yelling and screaming about this. Point being, Xabi Alonso is now back in the market. Arne Slot and Liverpool have had their problems this season. Wouldn't be surprised for 1 second if next year he goes to Liverpool, runs the league with that superstar squad of a team, and runs the Champions League. And for the first time in my life, I will support Liverpool in that moment so he can stick it to Real Madrid. Moving on to something in the same vein. I mean, we're one manager departure, one manager appointment, but it's not a manager, it's a caretaker. Michael Carrick has been appointed as the caretaker for Manchester United until the end of the season. His first game will be, drumroll please, against the high-flying Manchester City. Good luck, Carey. Good luck. Strangely enough, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was in the running to also be the caretaker. So basically, the guy that Carrick replaced for 3 games before Ralf Rangnick came in and, for lack of a better term, shit the bed. There's a small sample size of Michael Carrick. It's 3 matches, 2 wins, and a draw. In my opinion, it's a move. I'm not sure if it's the right move. One thing's clear is that ownership has completely written off the season, which for me is insane. It's not like Manchester United are falling down the table. Couple bad results, sure. But there was a point where we saw this team and they're like, okay, bit of a run here. Won a couple games in a row. Undefeated in 5. Good looking good. Process is working. Oh, sacked. Gone. It's confusing because there's always every single year, guys. Every single year to every single time they get somebody promising or something and we're like, oh, it's going to last. It's going to be great. It's all going to work out. No. Sacked. Gone. Rolling the new guy. Ten Hag. Ruben Amorim. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Ralf Rangnick. Michael Carrick. Darren Fletcher. Go on and on and on and on. I'm sick of it. If you're done with the club, if you don't know how to run a football club, just tell me. Just come on and say, hey guys, Glazers here. We don't know shit from Shinola about footy, but we're going to run the club. At least there'd be some transparency there. Christ's sake. I mean, how many managers, guys? And the problem that I have with this, and Gary Neville put it very similarly, is that why are we picking from Sir Alex's back pocket here? You got all the brown nosers we're picking from. Not that they're bad football minds, but let's get it. Let's diversify the portfolio a little bit. Let's go make a shock move. And hopefully in the summer they do that. Hopefully this era of Michael Carrick is just a caretaking position, because let me tell you something, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Michael Carrick goes in this incredible run of games. He's getting results. If he goes in on Saturday morning and wins against Manchester City and then starts rolling through the league, they somehow clinch Europa or Champions League, and then they go, wow, Michael Carrick, good manager. Good manager for Man U, isn't he? No, he's not. He's a good manager for Middlesbrough, but there's levels to this. We need to go find somebody that can coach the team. And I was watching the overlap today. They were talking about all that. They'd love Carlo Ancelotti to come in. It's Man U fans. It blows my mind. It's like, I'd really love to have Fabio Capello. I'd really love to have Pep Guardiola. Yeah, so would everybody else. You can't have them. To be honest, you had a good manager in Ruben Amorim, who was very transparent, if not too transparent in the media, and was actually bringing this team towards success. He was changing the attitude around the club. He was disciplining players who were giving him slack. He was sending the toxic ones away. There was some sort of structure. Sure, he was rigid and he wasn't consistent, but at least he was something. What is Darren Fletcher? Who is Michael Carrick? Great midfielder, by the way. But who is Michael Carrick as a manager? Guys, there has to be something. There has to be some change. There has to be. And by no means next season can Manchester United go into the year with Michael Carrick as the manager. Thank you for your service years and years ago, Michael Carrick. We need somebody better. We need somebody more equipped to run this shit show of a team. Anyways, they play Manchester City this weekend. If I was a gambling man, I cannot tell you the sum of money I would put on Manchester City. But if the underdog odds are good, I could also see a Man U win. It would be so Man U for them to win, wouldn't it? So I changed that. If I'm a betting man, I'm putting a couple bucks on Manchester United to win at home. It's at Old Trafford. Hopefully they'll put on a performance. But the current state of the soccer world, the football world, in a lot of ways is not good. And I'll leave you with this before we end off the episode. I have a subscription to Fubo TV with my dad. For Canada, carries Premier League and such, and Serie A. And occasionally, what I found out this past weekend was that they play old games. This one was the quarterfinal of the World Cup 2006, France and Brazil. The quality of the play on the field was something that truly, guys, we will never see again. And you know what I didn't see a lot of is whining. Didn't see anything from Ronaldinho. Didn't see it from Roberto Carlos, Makelele, Zidane. Didn't see it from Vieira. Didn't see it from Henry or Trezeguet. Saw a lot of quality, great football, two legendary teams. Again, better than almost every team we're watching today. But I didn't see any whining. And when I watch games now, I see a lot of whining. So hopefully we'll get out of this dark week, because it has been truly a horrible week for managers especially. And hopefully we can get the game back on track here with a little more positivity and a little more discipline and commitment to your job that you get paid for. Over and out, guys. See you next Friday with DeRo and the Diehard. Thank you for tuning into the Glory Sports Podcast Network. From candid sit-downs with game-changing athletes to expert analysis from our hosts, we're here to take you where sports and culture collide. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let us know what you thought and who you'd like to hear from next. And until then, thanks for listening.